Knowing predicted a real disaster 1 year before it happened. The Deepwater Horizon explosion occurred on the exact date listed in the film, April 22, 2010, killing exactly 11 people. These are 15 facts about the movie that encoded real GPS coordinates, shot disasters in terrifying one-takes, and almost ended with a black hole. 1. The numbers are real. The 52-digit numerical sequences on the mysterious letter discovered in the time capsule weren't random gibberish created by a lazy prop department. The production hired an actual professional mathematician to encode real historical disasters, including precise GPS coordinates and documented death tolls of the September 11th attacks and 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami, into Lucinda's prophetic document. Pause the 4K Ultra HD version and examine the paper closely. And the numbers visible on screen actually align perfectly with real-world geographical coordinates and casualty figures shown later when Nicolas Cage's character decodes them. Extraordinary attention to detail most productions would never bother with. The production treated the prop as if it were an actual historical art rather than a movie gimmick. 2. The one-take plane crash nightmare. The absolutely horrific commercial airliner crash sequence is one of the most viscerally terrifying disaster scenes ever filmed. Accomplished in a single, grueling, unbroken 2-minute take with no cuts or editing tricks. Nicolas Cage had to sprint through genuine fire, falling debris rigs, and navigate around 200 screaming extras performing simultaneously. No camera cuts to hide mistakes or provide safety breaks. Director Alex Proyas refused to use shaky cam or rapid editing to disguise imperfections, forcing the pyrotechnics team to choreograph every explosion, fire burst, and debris drop to the precise millisecond. Cage later described it as the most terrifyingly real and physically dangerous moment of his 4-decade career. It felt more like surviving an actual disaster than acting in a movie. The continuous take creates unbearable tension because the audience subconsciously registers that everything is happening in real time. 3. Nicolas Cage's personal connection. Nicolas Cage is a documented collector of occult artifacts, esoteric historical documents, and rare philosophical texts. He reportedly accepted the role within just 3 hours of reading the screenplay. He was genuinely obsessed with the film's exploration of determinism, the philosophical concept that every event in the universe is predetermined and free will is an illusion. Cage didn't just play a character who believes in cosmic fate, he personally relates to those ideas. He even provided several of the academic prop books visible on shelves in his character's university office directly from his own extensive private library. Cage's intellectual engagement elevated his performance beyond typical genre acting. His genuine curiosity about predestination and cosmic patterns shows in the intensity he brings to the character's obsessive quest for meaning. 4. The Red One 4K Revolution. Knowing was one of the first major Hollywood films shot entirely on the revolutionary Red One digital cinema camera. A still experimental and untested technology in 2008 to 2009, the film industry was still overwhelmingly committed to traditional 35mm stock. Digital cinematography was considered inferior, appropriate only for low-budget productions. But Alex Proyas specifically wanted the cold, clinical, digital clarity that film couldn't provide. He felt the crisp, hyper-real image quality would make disaster sequences feel more immediate and documentary-like. Because the cameras were so new and their technology immature, they kept catastrophically overheating in the brutal Australian summer sun. The crew had to literally wrap the expensive cameras in ice packs and cooling gel between every single take to prevent permanent damage. Bizarre images of cutting-edge technology being protected with primitive refrigeration methods. 5. The solar flare NASA endorsement. While the apocalyptic super flare destroying all life is an extreme scientific exaggeration and not currently considered realistic, NASA scientists publicly praised Knowing for its surprisingly accurate depiction of the sun's corona, surface features, and sunspot activity. The visual effects team didn't just imagine what the sun might look like. They used actual real telescopic imaging data from NASA's SOHO satellite to create scientifically accurate 3D models of the sun's photosphere and chromosphere. The result is one of the most visually correct and detailed representations of the actual sun ever created for a fictional film. The attention to astronomical accuracy gives the disaster scenarios a veneer of scientific credibility, making them feel more plausible and frightening, even though the core premise remains highly speculative. 6. The Whisper Men Mythology. The mysterious Whisper Men stalking the children throughout knowing weren't originally conceived as aliens. In the first draft, they were explicitly depicted as time-traveling humans from the distant post-apocalyptic future, developed the technology to move backward through time, attempting to save their own genetic ancestors from extinction. Much more grounded in science fiction than spiritual imagery, but studio executives felt this explanation was too intellectually complex for mainstream audiences wanting a straightforward thriller. The Whisper Men were completely redesigned into the ambiguous light being entities seen in the final cut, deliberately coded to resemble biblical angels, leaning into religious metaphors about divine intervention and salvation. But the change shifted the film from hard science fiction toward apocalyptic spiritual parable. 7. The Deepwater Horizon Prediction. One of the most chilling coincidences in Knowing's troubled legacy involves a specific date encoded in Lucinda's prophetic number sequence. April 22, 2010. Predicted death toll: exactly 11 people. The film was released in March 2009, more than a year before that date. Then, in real life, the Deepwater Horizon offshore oil drilling rig suffered a catastrophic explosion on April 22, 2010, the exact date specified in the movie, resulting in exactly 11 confirmed fatalities, the precise number written on the paper. The probability of this exact coincidence occurring by random chance is astronomically small. It permanently cemented Knowing's cursed reputation among internet conspiracy theorists. Some believers point to this as evidence the film tapped into genuine precognitive knowledge. Rational explanations involve coincidence and that the film included dozens of dates, making some overlap statistically inevitable. 8. The Subway CGI Secret. The catastrophic subway train derailment was so geometrically complex, it took the visual effects team over 6 months of continuous computer rendering to complete. They built an exact 1-to-1 scale digital replica of New York's Lafayette Street station with centimeter-level architectural accuracy. To make the panicked, screaming sound authentically overwhelming rather than like obvious voice actors in a booth, the sound design team traveled to actual crowded subway stations in London and Tokyo during rush hour. They recorded real commuters' ambient noise, conversations, and then occasional shouts, then layered hundreds of these authentic vocal tracks into a nightmarish wall of sound that feels genuinely claustrophobic and terrifying. 9. The Australian Boston. Despite being explicitly set in Boston and New York City, approximately 90% of Knowing was filmed in and around Melbourne, Australia for tax incentives. The production faced enormous challenges, making Australian locations resemble American East Coast cities. They physically shipped in American-looking street trash, manhole covers, fire hydrants, and traffic signs. Every background extra had to attend mandatory dialect coaching to suppress Australian accents. Examine the Boston street scenes closely with knowledge of Australian flora. You can identify that the trees lining the roads are actually native Australian eucalyptus and other species that don't exist anywhere in Massachusetts. The deception worked well enough that most American audiences never questioned the authenticity. 10. The Lucinda grave secret. Hidden linguistic detail almost no viewers catch. The name Lucinda Embry contains the ancient Greek root word laikne, which translates to light or lamp. Not a random naming choice. An intentional coded clue from Alex Proya signaling that Lucinda wasn't just a crazy girl suffering from mental illness and writing nonsense. She was a genuine prophet and bringer of light desperately trying to warn future humanity about the coming apocalyptic fire. The etymological Easter egg rewards viewers who pay attention to classical languages. Suggests filmmakers embedded multiple layers of symbolic meaning into details casual audiences would never notice. 11. The reshot final scene. The emotional final shot showing rescued children running toward the glowing Tree of Life on their new paradise planet was filmed and reshot 3 separate times. Creative conflicts between Alex Proyas and nervous studio executives. The studio wanted the alien planet to look visibly exotic and otherworldly. Purple skies, strange atmospheric colors, bizarre non-terrestrial plant life. Proyas fought back aggressively. He insisted the new world must look like a perfect Earth, familiar, beautiful, and Edenic, because the ending shouldn't feel alien and unsettling. It should feel like restoration of paradise and innocence. His vision ultimately prevailed. The final planet looks like idealized Earth before human corruption, reinforcing the film's biblical themes of rebirth and redemption. 12. The Ezekiel's Wheel visuals. The alien spacecraft appearing during the apocalyptic finale were meticulously designed to resemble Ezekiel's wheels as described in biblical texts and ancient Hebrew religious manuscripts. The distinctive aesthetic of interlocking rotating rings covered with eyes and emitting radiant light was taken almost verbatim from visions described in the book of Ezekiel. The production designers deliberately wanted visual ambiguity, bridging the gap between ancient astronaut theories and traditional Judeo-Christian beliefs about divine intervention. By making extraterrestrial technology look explicitly biblical, the film allows viewers to interpret the ending either as literal alien rescue or metaphorical divine salvation, depending on their personal belief systems. The visual design refuses to definitively resolve whether the beings are advanced aliens or literal angels, maintaining productive ambiguity. 13. The Suicidal Dad Subplot. There was a significantly darker subplot involving John Keesler's father, the elderly Christian minister, that was substantially cut during post-production. In the original draft, John discovers through their climactic phone conversation that his father has secretly known about the approaching end of days for years through his own religious visions, but deliberately chose to remain silent to preserve social peace and prevent mass panic. The final reconciliation was originally supposed to end with the priest admitting he had completely given up on God and lost all faith, realizing divine intervention wouldn't save humanity. The studio absolutely refused to allow this bleak conclusion. They forced rewrites to keep the father faithful until the end, fearing that depicting a minister losing faith would alienate religious audience segments. 14. The Missing 2026 Prophecy. Extremely subtle background detail that eagle-eyed, conspiracy-minded viewers have obsessed over for years. In several scenes in John Keesler's university classroom, there's a chalkboard displaying a global warming statistical chart tracking rising temperatures. The chart's timeline ends abruptly and ominously in March 2026, with no data points beyond that date. While the film's main narrative concludes with the 2009 solar flare apocalypse, dedicated fans have developed elaborate theories that Proyas was hinting at a real-world cycle of dangerous solar activity peaking in the mid-2020s. Whether intentional foreshadowing, random production design, or confirmation bias from pattern-seeking viewers remains ambiguous. But the detail has sparked extensive online speculation about hidden prophecies embedded in the film's background. 15. The Black Hole. Alternate ending. The original conceptual design for Knowing's climax didn't depict the sun releasing a massive solar flare at all. Early concept art showed the sun catastrophically collapsing inward and transforming into a mini black hole that would gravitationally swallow Earth and the entire inner solar system. The visual effects team began developing this sequence before realizing it would be visually boring. A black hole consuming Earth would essentially just be a gradually expanding black void on screen. No spectacular imagery, no dramatic destruction. And they couldn't figure out how to make total gravitational collapse look cinematically satisfying. So they completely changed to the wall of fire shockwave. ensuring the movie concluded with a literal apocalyptic bang of fire and light rather than anticlimactic darkness. Sometimes scientific accuracy has to be sacrificed for visual spectacle. So, if you received a letter containing exact dates and death tolls of every future disaster, would you try desperately to stop them? Or just head for the bunkers and wait for the end? The film's answer: some knowledge is a curse, not a gift. Let me know in the comments if that one-take plane crash scene still haunts your nightmares. If you want more deep dives into movies that predicted the end with disturbing accuracy, hit subscribe. See you in the next one.